Yeah, hi guys, Nagaraj here. Today topic is try catch and finally block. So in the previous video we discussed like what is exception and error, and if exceptions occurs, how to handle it, and what are the types of exceptions. Everything we have discussed. Please watch my previous video regarding the exceptions. So in this video we'll see if exception occurs, how to handle it. First we'll see the basic information on try catch block. If any exception occurs during the program execution, and it will be catched in the catch block. The first statement says that if any exception occurs in the try block, it will catch in catch block. See, this below are the example which I have provided. There is a try block. Inside we are writing the code in such a way that if you feel like this set of code may raise an exceptions, so that by considering that concept we need to write a try catch block. This is the example for try catch and finally block. It's like a syntax, right? Inside the try block we need to add the statement. So the set of statement we can write. So statement may raise the exceptions. Those kind of we need to pick, and we should enter. We should write it in the try block. And try block is followed by the catch block. So we can use the multiple catch block also, and followed by the finally block. If any exceptions occurs in the try block, it will be catched by the catch block, and we need to handle it inside the catch block. The exceptions occurs or not, the finally block will be executed. In this case, suppose I have written the 3 statement. Okay, assume like in the statement 2 there is an exception occurred. Catch block will catch these exceptions, and suppose we have written 3 statement, right? So if any arithmetic exception occurs in the second statement, and corresponding catch block may be write multiple times, as I said, maybe arithmetic exceptions or file not found exception. So suppose if it is arithmetic exception, corresponding catch block will be catched. And finally we need to write finally block. This block will be optional, either you can write or not. Suppose if we want to execute some mandatory steps, then we need to go for the finally block, and we need to add those kind of set of statement under the or exception occurs or not. That is the last statement says, if after executing catch block the control will be transferred to finally block if it is present. If it is not present, it will go to the next statement. Now we'll see with the diagram, maybe will be more clear on this. So we start write the program here, and if any exception occurs, right, we need to handle it. Then it will be execution will be go to the control will go to the final block, it will execute it, and it will go to the next statement or output section. Assume like there is no exception occurs. Again, these sections won't be required because it won't go to the catch block, directly go to the finally block and go to the output. The finally block will execute irrespective of exception occurs or not. Okay, by seeing this example maybe you will be more clear, right? So I have written one class that is try catch finally. Inside we have one main method to trigger this is triggering point for our execution, and again one more method I have written like method 1, just to demonstrate the try catch finally block execution. Okay, we before going to in detail, we'll see first of all what I have written in the main method. I have written the sysout, and it is showing inside the main method, and here I am calling the method. This method is directly I am calling, either you can use the class name also because it is a static method. Either you can use class name dot this method, both will work fine. So I am not using right now. Regarding method 1, it is the static method. It takes the return value is integer. That means so this method should return some integer value. I have mentioned the return 8, some integer. Okay. So here inside this method I have written some try block followed by catch block and finally block. So in this try block I have written 3 statements, statement 1, 2 and 3. Intentionally I made statement 2 should throw some exception. Okay, and the catch block should catch that, and finally block how it work in this case, and the return statement. So if I run this program, anyhow, as the main method is the triggering point, this inside main method will be displayed. Then it will call method 1. So control will come here. It will start executing the try block. The first it will execute statement 1, it will display, and it will execute the int x is equal to 50 divided by 0. Since we have some arithmetic exceptions occurs here, the control will move to the catch block, and it will go and execute inside catch block. Then the control will move to the, by default it will go to the, whether we have exceptions or not, it will go to the final block, it will execute this one. Then finally it will return 8. Okay. So now if I execute this, okay, will execute. So here you can see the output, right? So first it will be inside main method, statement 1 will be executed. Once the statement 1 is executed, it will try to execute statement 2. So since arithmetic exception occurs, then it will go to the inside catch block. Then by default finally block will be executed and it will control will be go to the next step. This is the execution flow. Now if any exceptions occurs here, right, it is not going, control not moving to the next step. This is important in the try catch block. So if any statement the exceptions occurs, control won't go to the, control stops the execution there itself and it won't go to the next step, where it will go to the catch block. And if I comment this section, okay, suppose if I commented these sections whether the finally block will execute or not. In this case also finally block will execute. See, as per the output, the first statement will be executed, the second statement will be executed. Since there is no exception found here, there is no exception, directly it is executed the finally block. If any exception occurs, then only it will go to the finally block. If any exception occurs, then only the catch block will be executed, because we need to handle our exceptions here only. Then finally block will execute in the both. In first case also the finally block executed and second case also finally block executed. Irrespective of the exception, finally block will be executed. That we should remember in this point. So okay, one more important thing here. So what about this return statement, right? So suppose I will add some return statement here. Okay, now the function should return some value, right? So I will add the return statement here. I won't add it over here because anyhow I commented this exception, right? As per this, statement 1, statement 2 should be executed and finally it should return. Anyhow the catch block won't be executed and finally block. Even though we don't have finally block, right? Even though if we don't have the I have commented this final block. Even though if we don't have final blocks, still it is showing some error. So what is that error now? So we should remember this actually the interview point of view, this one will be very important. So in the try block, if you read the return statement, it is not considered the return statement for this method. I repeat, if you write the return statement in the try block, this return statement not be considered for the return statement for the method. Okay, because we are not sure like when the exceptions will occur in the try block. So even though if it didn't occur, sometime it may occur in statement 1, right? In the runtime, any statement may throw exception. So how to resolve this? We need to add the return statement for the at the end. Okay, I will add some return statement here. So now there is no error. Now this return statement will be considered as the return statement for this method. Suppose one more example. Suppose if I add return statement only here in the catch block. So now again it is throwing some exceptions because I have added return statement here. Since we have tried to catch some element, it is not happened. That's why this control is going to the catch block. Then definitely the return statement should be in the catch block. Then that time it is showing here the control won't go to the after catch block. So here we can see unreachable code. The control won't go to this statement only. So if I comment this line, so this will work fine now. In one more example, if I didn't write anything in the return statement here, okay, let me add it in the finally block. If I save this again, we will get a statement like unreachable code unreachable, because the final block is a default block. If we add some return statement final block, as by default final block will be executed, then there is the meaning like after return statement the code won't be reachable. So return statement will be the last statement of every method, right? So it is not reachable in that case. So suppose if we didn't write anything here, if I didn't write, and it will work fine. There is no error here. If I write some statement again after the return statement, as I said, return statement will be the last statement of the execution. This statement, it is not reachable now. See, again it will show in the same error, unreachable code. If I want to execute this statement, I need to add this return statement after this. Now it will work fine. So if I execute this, first it will display inside main method, statement 1, statement 3 as usual, and finally. Now if any exceptions occurs, some execution flow will be through the catch block. Statement 1, statement 2. So first will be inside method, statement 1, catch block, finally, and the end. Usually most of the interview in Java interview, they will ask this concept. When to use, see, simply they will provide some example like they will use something like this. Just read this program. They won't provide the Eclipse kind of idea also. So just you should read and write the output. If in this case you need to say that which line it is expecting some return statement here, because in previous case we saw that there is a not reachable code. In this case we didn't read the return statement only. That is the meaning here. Saying this method must return a result of type int. It is not we need to add a return statement. Where need to add at the end of the every method we need to add the return statement if this method takes any return statement. Okay, so now we have added if everything worked fine. Hope you understand the basic information on try, catch, and finally block. Still, if you have any doubt or comment, you please put it in the comment sections. I will provide you the solutions. And thanks guys, thanks for watching this video. Please hit like button if you like this video. If you didn't like it, please hit dislike button, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you.